Golems are some of the most powerful weapons in Thedas, towering automatons of stone or steel, possessing terrible strength and some wielding enchanted runes. These marvels of ingenuity were the brainchild of the most celebrated smith in dwarven history, Caridin. Caridin was born during the height of the First Blight, when swarms of darkspawn rampaged across the surface and the deep roads alike. Tig after tig fell as the dwarven lines were overwhelmed. For the time being, however, Orton Tig, where Caridin was born, was safe. He was born of a love affair between a woman of the noble house Orton and a man of the smith caste. According to the traditions of the dwarves, this made him a smith as well, following the footsteps of his father. Caridin's mother wanted to keep her family close, however, and arranged for both father and son to live in Orton Tig as smiths serving her house. Caridin proved well suited to his caste, showing great creativity and skill in his work as a smith. After a time, he was handling the majority of his father's commission and outfitting House Orton's finest warriors, many of which he counted as close friends. As the battles with the Darkspawn raged, the seed of an idea took root in Caridin's mind, a way to turn the tide and save his people. He spent years sequestered in his workshop before emerging and presenting his masterpiece to the assembly in Orzammar, the Anvil of the Void, a device that melded the disciplines of smithing and lyrium enchantment. With this, the dwarves could forge living warriors of stone and steel, golems that would be unhindered by the corruptive influences of the Blight. There was a price, however. No smith could create life from nothing, no matter the power of the Anvil of the Void. It had to come from somewhere. A sacrifice had to be made. King Valtor of Orzammar embraced the opportunity Caridin provided, and in 255 Ancient the smith created the first golem and was named a paragon. A new noble house was founded in his name. Many warriors volunteered for the anvil so that their spirits might give life to Caridin's golems. The process was grotesque. The volunteer would be stripped and encased in oversized armor of stone or steel. Then molten lyrium is poured in the eye holes, joints, and every gap. They scream and quickly become silent, though the smell of blood and hot metal lingers in the air. Caridin and his apprentices would work quickly then to shape the armor while it is malleable. It would start to move and groan under their hammer blows as they gave the golem new form. Caridin created control rods that allowed the holder to issue commands that golems were bound to obey, and so the dwarves deployed their new guardians against the Darkspawn with great success. Most were automatons that carried out the orders of anyone who holds their control rod, activated by a command phrase, save for rare cases of magical experimentation, or a golem without a control rod, which could retain the old personalities and memories of the dwarves they had been created from. The Shaperate of Golems was established to manage these new creations, but the truth of the sacrifice Caridin's creations required was not made public knowledge. The anvil was not Caridin's only contribution to the defense of his people. He was a great admirer of the Legion of the Dead, that regiment of dwarves from any caste who dedicated their last breath to fighting Darkspawn. Caridin constructed a grand fortress for them, Bunamar, the City of the Dead, though he himself continued to spend most of his time in Orton Tig when not seeing to his work. In time, King Valtor's desire for more golems to bolster the armies outstripped the available volunteers. Soon, prisoners and criminals were sent to the anvil. When Caridin realized what was going on, he refused to create any more golems, and so Valtor ordered that Caridin himself should be sent to the anvil. Caridin's apprentices had learned their craft well and forged their mentor into a body of steel. Only when he felt the hammer blows himself did Caridin truly appreciate the horror of what he had created. His apprentices did not have the knowledge to create a control rod to break his will, so when Caridin rose as a golem he had his own plans. He took the Anvil of the Void and vanished into the deep roads with a group of golems in 248 Ancient. No amount of searching by the dwarves could uncover where they had gone. All expeditions were repelled by the Darkspawn. One of Valtor's successors, Queen Getha, sent a golem regiment called the Legion of Steel in search of Caridin and the Anvil. The whole legion was lost. Losing a whole regiment of now irreplaceable golems was such a disaster that all efforts to find Caridin were discontinued. The Shaperate of Golems refused to allow any more all-golem units in the deep roads, and the Paragon was declared dead. For 1,000 years, the secrets of golem creation were lost to the dwarves of Orzammar, and the truth that golems were given life by the sacrifice of a living being was largely forgotten. Orzammar continued to use golems in its forces, but their numbers dwindled until they became a treasured rarity. There were attempts to recreate Caridin's achievements over the centuries, none successful, and at least one had catastrophic results. The Tig of Amgarak dropped out of contact, and the truth of what happened took centuries more to be uncovered. Some experimentation with runes and lyrium enchantment enhanced the abilities of existing golems, but the secrets of the Anvil remained lost. When Caridin's secrets were finally uncovered again, it would be by another paragon. Branka was supremely talented in her own right, born to a wealthy family of the Smith caste. Before she was 20, her family arranged her marriage to a warrior of House Kondrat, Oghren, which was considered a beneficial match by both houses. A little over a year after their marriage, however, Branka discovered a smokeless coal that could be burned without the need for ventilation, greatly increasing the safety of the Smith caste's work and the efficiency of their output. For this, she was made a paragon in 910 Dragon. Branka's family joined the newly formed House Branka, and all members of House Kondrat agreed to be absorbed into the new noble house. Branka was the most powerful dwarf in Orzammar and had her pick of projects. Her husband quickly became a side note in her life, a status he resented and took to drinking heavily. His humiliation was compounded by Branka taking a lover in Oghren's distant cousin Hespith, an open secret it seems Oghren alone remained ignorant of. In time, his own family members began to shun him, given Branka's clear disdain for her husband. Oghren spiraled down a path of alcoholism and bitterness. But Branka's thoughts were on other things. She disliked the political games of Orzammar's ruling class, and eventually fixated on rediscovering the secrets of golem creation as a means of saving the dwarves. In 928 Dragon, Branka announced that she would take an expedition in search of the Anvil of the Void. She left Orzammar with her entire house, save Oghren, who was left behind. In her quest to find the Anvil, Branka would sacrifice everything. All members of her house were ultimately abandoned or sacrificed by her to bring her closer to her goal, even her lover, Hespith. Eventually, she found the Anvil's location, but remained trapped on the wrong side of a gauntlet of traps prepared by Caridin. With no word from Branka for 2 years, the dwarves of Orzammar gave her up for dead, except for Oghren, who repeatedly and angrily demanded that search parties continue to be sent out in search of his wife and house. It was not until 930 Dragon, when rival factions vying for Orzammar's vacant throne wanted a paragon's word to settle the issue, that Oghren finally got his wish for a serious expedition. A Grey Warden, who would later be known as the Hero of Ferelden, arrived seeking aid from the dwarves and ultimately set out in search of Branka to settle the disputed crown. When they found Branka, she was disinterested in their cause, but quite eager to use them to bypass the traps between her and the Anvil. There the Warden met Caridin, preserved in golem form for all this time. The Warden had a choice: to help Caridin in his efforts to keep the Anvil from being abused by destroying it, or give the Anvil to Branka's control, who would use it as she saw fit rather than giving it to Orzammar. Whether by the warden's hand or writing his own conclusion with his goal complete, Caridin's story ended that day, and Orzammar's crown would not regain control of the anvil. Golems remain what they have been for 1,000 years, rare and powerful, representing one of Orzammar's last lines of defense. Golems are fun. It's really a great example of Dragon Age taking a very long-standing concept in fantasy fiction and giving it a darker edge fit for the world of this franchise. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be trying to keep these videos coming. See you next time, and have a great day.